Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Zach Team Podcast. Today, we continue to educate you guys on real estate, the terminology, with our incredible Olga Zakinova, who is the associate broker at Douglas Elliman, and Mr. James Chen, who is the senior loan officer at Citizens Bank. Thank you both for coming, and let's dive into this.
Pleasure to be back. Thank you.
So I have a question for both of you that I personally kind of want to understand for myself. What is a co-op? What is a co-op and what is a condo? And what is the difference between the two? So James, you want to go first?
Sure. Co-op and condo, the biggest difference is co-op, you buy into shares.
Right.
With condo, it's like a house. You
Mhm.
get the deed, you get a title, but with co-op, you buy into share. You get the right to use the apartment to live in there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't own it. You get the right to
Really?
you get it. You
I've
get
been
a stock. You get a
misinformed.
stock. You get a stock certificate with your name on it, and you have the exclusive right to live there.
It's like
Wow.
partnership in the business.
There you go.
Wow.
You got
Yeah.
shares,
Shareholder.
So you're a
but
shareholder.
you don't make the full decision.
Yeah. There's a board on top
Correct.
of you.
There is a
Who's
board.
breathing down your neck? I know.
Go
Those
ahead, James.
God bless them.
So yes, they do bring it down there now. And another difference between the two is with co-op, you have to go in front of the board for the interview.
Right.
When you purchase a property and if you need financing, the financing is the same for co-op, condo, and a house.
Oh wow.
But one thing with co-op is we also have to make sure the buyers who needs a financing, well, regardless financing or not, we also have to make sure that this person qualifies for the building's requirements because
Mhm.
each building has their own requirements.
Right.
One building in Forest Hill could be very different than the building in Regal Park versus
Management. Right.
no. Well, in terms of the building,
In terms
they
of
they,
right.
they,
Right.
their own requirements,
Right.
right? And here's the thing: you could qualify for a mortgage, but that doesn't mean that you're going to qualify for that building's
Co-op.
co-op requirement, co-op's
Wow.
requirement. So I'll give you for example DTI. DTI stands for debt to income ratio,
Uh-huh.
right? As a bank, we are willing to go up to 45%, given some compensating factors, good credit score,
Mhm.
45% debt to income ratio, meaning that 45% of what you make per month is going towards your mortgage, your maintenance, and your personal debt, such as car loan, car lease,
Right.
etc. But the co-op can turn around and say, no, that's way too high. You can only go 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? There's no deal,
Yeah.
right? There's no deal.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody who's looking to buy a co-op and
Think twice.
yes,
Be careful,
think
right?
you had to make sure that you qualify for the building's requirement.
Right.
In addition, qualifying for the mortgage if you need a mortgage, and if you buy in all cash, you still need to make sure that you qualify for the building's requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you buy from the sponsor, then that's a different story. With sponsor, you are exempt to going for an interview, but those deals are
Rare.
very
Very
rare
rare.
these days.
Rare.
Most of the
Yes.
sponsor for co-op, they pretty much saw their shares already. So that's the biggest difference between co-op and condo.
So condo, you could just go in, buy it. No one tells you what to do. You're good. It's like you're buying a piece of land without
It's like
buying
you're
a
buying a
piece of
house.
land.
It's like you're buying. I
basically.
mean, you still have to submit your board package, right?
Right.
They want to know who's buying here, but you don't have that interview process.
Awesome.
You don't have that interview.
So the building
process.
does not have to approve you as the potential shareholder.
Correct.
So in other words, when we get phone calls from potential buyers that are looking to buy any of our listings, any of our co-ops, the first thing we always go through qualification process. I
Uh-huh.
personally ask them verbally all these questions just to make sure that the seller does not open doors to someone that's not qualified
Right.
and someone who's not going to potentially make an offer without having the proper qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
So like James just mentioned, DTI is a crucial factor for every building.
Right.
Some buildings begin with 25% DTI. Some buildings could go all the way up to 32 to 35%.
Well, yes.
Right?
Well, I think the highest I seen is La Havre, La Havre, and then also
Bayside?
La Havre in Bayside and Douglaston Beach
Right.
Hills. They go up to 36.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
That's
it.
high.
But
So that
yeah.
means 36% of your income
Mm-hmm.
could be dedicated to expenses for your apartment,
Mm.
plus
ev-
your personal expense.
plus
yeah.
your personal expenses.
Yeah.
But when we go through the process of qualifying,
Right.
so it's the income, it's the down payment, is the credit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's reserves after the closing.
Right.
So all these four major factors play a very big role in your qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
After all, we need to make sure that you have stable employment for continuous employment for the past 2 years.
Right.
So nowadays, because a lot of people were
Laid off.
furloughed during
Yes.
COVID, what a lot of co-ops are allowing us to do is to write an explanation letter.
Oh.
So explanation letters right now becoming more popular,
Right.
and this is how we're going to make this happen. But again,
You got to tell the story.
exactly, you
Yeah.
got to tell the story. But it goes back to the whole entire picture.
Right.
Okay. Now, what I also witnessed that a lot of my clients, they could say make $50,000 to $60,000, but they could have savings all the way up to 500, because they are being, like, for the past, let's say, many years,
Putting money
very
away.
careful
Right.
and putting money away, and they're
Saving.
building equity, let's say investing into stocks or cryptocurrency or something else. So let's say they've been living like young children with their parents, playing around with the stock market, build enough money on their stocks,
Right. They're not paying
and now,
rent. Yeah.
exactly, they didn't pay rent,
Right.
and now they're in a position where they could buy something.
They saved up enough.
They saved up enough, exactly.
Right.
This type of buyer for co-op, if you're making $50,000, but you have savings of close to $500,000, you are an ideal buyer for them.
Wow.
Now, if you are making, let's say, $200,000,
Uh-huh.
you're only putting 10% down, which in co-ops does not really welcome that too much, but some co-ops do allow that.
Right.
And if you don't have any savings in the back of you, but you are making 200,000, you are not their ideal buyer, because it clearly shows that you're making all this money, but you don't know how
You're
to
wasting
budget.
it.
You don't know how to
Yes,
budget your
you're
money.
wasteful.
And so they are very, very careful, especially during COVID, when people lost their job very suddenly,
Right.
and people did not have savings. In the end of the day, like, it was very dangerous to keep this type of shareholders in the building, because they stopped paying.
Right.
And it was very, very difficult for the building to manage.
Yeah.
But thank God there was a lot of programs. There was
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of
From the government.
government help, exactly. So a lot of people managed.
I mean, if you put yourself in this position, right? If you're the existing shareholder in the
Right,
building, and,
right.
and let's just say that Olga comes in and she stopped paying the maintenance, guess what? Everyone suffers,
Right.
Exactly.
right? So a lot of people see that, oh my God, co is too much, right? With the interview process, it is cumbersome. But if you look at it if you look at it from different perspective,
Right.
they want only sound people, right? With a financially qualified to move
Right.
into the building.
You're
You
right.
don't want anyone just move into your
That's true.
building,
Exactly.
because if they don't pay maintenance, guess what? Everyone's going to suffer.
Everybody is
suffers.
affected.
Right.
Right.
So they're doing this for a reason. And it's not because
For your own good, basically.
well, to protect themselves too. right?
Protect
Yeah,
themselves
yeah,
and protect,
yeah,
the
yeah.
neighbors too get protected
Yeah.
as a result,
So
kind
that's
of.
one of the
And,
main reason why
Careful.
they have
Screening.
the cropping, they have
Screening.
the screening process.
Screening
Mm.
process is very severe.
Right.
And, in many cases, when it comes to buildings that I do business in many years, ongoing basis, and everybody on the board knows me, I tell them, look, as long as the bank, especially Citizens,
Right.
qualifies them and they get approved and they're getting a mortgage commitment, everything else you could just put
You
your
make
hand.
their job easier, basically. You're
Absolutely.
screening them before
Of
they go
course.
through all of this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Relationships
just-
are everything.
Well, we
Yeah.
just did a deal that's in the contract now, right?
Yeah.
And James went through 3 different packages where he keep coming back to me days later, because people take time to provide
Right,
documentation.
right.
And he keeps coming back to me and saying, Olga,
No
I'm
go.
sorry to tell you, no.
Okay.
Olga, I'm sorry to tell you they're not qualified.
Wow.
And of course, it's devastating for me, because we take our time to show them properties, but that in this instance was not my direct buyer, was other agents involved.
Right.
But in many cases, people,
Even with the one that signed the contract, it's not your direct buyer. It's a customer from another agent. But
Absolutely.
they're the most qualified. You
Right,
know,
right,
they're the
right.
most qualified. yeah.
absolutely.
You got to do the right
so,
thing.
so what we do usually, like if it's a buyer or if it's a broker, we always try to ask them to see if they could work with James.
Right.
They don't need to hire him if they choose not to.
Correct.
No one
Oh,
is.
no?
No.
No.
Oh,
no,
because
no,
I thought
no.
he's with you, so it's
No.
like a
No,
thing.
No.
we can't force the
No,
customer.
we
Oh,
can't.
no.
Yeah,
we
no,
can't.
no.
We can't.
We're only here. I'm
to-
only here to provide,
For
you know, to help
To
her
provide service.
and to provide service to the seller, to the buyer, to let them know what the monthly payments are. If they're comfortable and they want to use my service, that's
Right.
something else. But we're here to screen, make sure that they're qualified.
Okay.
But we're not, forcing
Let
the
me
customer.
just-
No.
Let me
Okay.
just cover one important factor here.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is what I believe in. Every single one that is in my database,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Years after years, they come back as a repeat and referral business. And a lot of times it's somebody that James first finds out that they're ready to sell and buy again. And a lot of times it's Olga. Because in many cases, when we've done business from past, let's say, 10 years,
Yeah.
we've built enough relationships with
Yeah.
clients where they know who we are, they
Yeah.
know how we work,
And it's faster.
and it's faster.
Yes.
So if they
You have a
decide,
system.
exactly. So if they
have that
decide to
trust.
buy, exactly, and trust. If they decide, like I recently had a case where the gentleman bought a house with us, and then he saved some money and he wanted to buy another investment property. We went through a very serious conversation, and within 10, 15 minutes, we discovered that it was his idea to buy, but it was not our ideal idea to direct him to buy yet, because he was not financially ready yet.
Yeah.
So it's our job as professionals to really teach and educate public and the consumer to understand what is their comfortable zone.
Right.
What exactly? I don't want my buyers to buy property and then
default
be
later.
and then default.
Default, yes.
We don't want my buyers to buy property and stop going on vacations.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want them to buy and start getting into arguments and fights between the spouses, and or to cut off something on their children's services or any kind of
School.
camps or gifts and anything like that.
Yeah.
We want them to be super comfortable. But I'm going to go back to something important that I personally believe in, that every single one, in my opinion, every single one pays the mortgage. Do you pay to your property that you purchased or to your landlord? That's a huge question.
Right.
And
Hey,
this is
7% interest rate is high. You paying your landlord, that's 100%. Come on.
Exactly.
So if you can afford it, of course, it's always good to buy,
absolutely.
Yes.
And James, I want to touch one more topic right now. How do you feel about tax write-off? Because when people buy properties, one of the best benefits people achieve
Yeah.
is that, yes, when you're renting, you cannot write off a dollar. It's all your money down the road,
Down the
just
drain.
out the drain,
Yeah.
down the
You're
drain.
paying for somebody's mortgage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
So when you buy a property, the taxes that you can, it's tax deductible. Yeah, obviously based on your financials, you have to check with your accountant. The mortgage interest is also, tax deductible. So those are very powerful, tools.
so are you telling me that whatever the interest rates right now that people paying and borrowing, it's all going to be a tax write-off
It's tax write-off, but you have to consult with
Your accountant.
to see how
Accountant.
much.
based on your bracket?
Correct.
I
Right,
understand.
Right. Same thing with the taxes, property taxes. But I believe with property taxes now at $10,000.
Yeah, it's a cap.
There's a cap. Hey, but still, it's $10,000.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long is it going to take you to save $10,000?
Yes. And my personal understanding is that we will not continue to stay where we are.
Right.
This is just a temporary fix, and we all know that.
Right.
Feds are doing this for the purpose of,
Inflation.
correcting the inflation a
Control
little bit,
inflation.
control and correcting, the market a little bit.
Right.
And I personally believe that we will get through this. And next chapter, we will not be able to follow the comps like we follow right now.
Still, it's gonna go up. Real estate always goes
Absolutely.
up. It doesn't matter. It's,
Everything
it's
goes,
Still real
everything
estate.
that goes down goes up, and it's just a natural cycle, natural flow
Right.
of
It's life.
market.
You have the peaks and you have the
Exactly.
valleys. That's all.
Absolutely.
This is just part of life.
Absolutely.
We're getting into the valley a little, but we'll be okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Zach Team podcast. It was amazing to talk to Miss Olga Zakinova and Mr. James Chen, and we would love for you to join us next time. Have a great day.